This time, I'll be talking about the Osaka Stadium, which was located right in the heart of Osaka's second largest downtown area, Namba. This stadium belonged to Nankai. The Hawks, now known as the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks, used this stadium as their home base in the past. Because it was built on a small plot of prime urban land, the stands were extremely steep and it was even called a bowl-shaped stadium. What's more, it was constructed in just 8 months as a special project, making it a unique stadium. The Osaka Stadium was supposed to be demolished and redeveloped, but the plan was delayed due to the burst of the economic bubble. At one point, a housing exhibition was even opened inside the stadium, which was a rather strange use for it. Now it has been transformed into Namba Parks, a major commercial facility representing Namba, and it has become a place where many people come and go. I will introduce the history of Osaka Stadium, the remnants that still remain, and share my impressions from visiting the site along with local footage. This video is created with this structure, and I will explain the words that appear in the video as well. I use the simplest and most understandable words and choose easy expressions as much as possible. I also intentionally avoid using confusing numbers. However, there may be some exceptions, so please understand in advance. On Psycho's channel, I will continue to make many videos that everyone can enjoy, so please be sure to subscribe to the channel. The Nankai Hawks were in a city next to Osaka City before the war. They used Nakamoto Stadium as their home ground, but due to its poor location and inconvenience, it had a bad reputation among both spectators and players. It was rarely used for official games. Especially after the war, not a single official game was held at Nakamoto Stadium. The games were mainly held at Koshien, the home of the Hanshin Tigers. After that, Japan came under American occupation. In 1948, after the war, when the Nankai Hawks won the 3rd Japan Professional Baseball League, there was a person named William Frederick Marquardt. The person is Matsura of the Nankai Hawks. When he asked the president where their home ground was, the president replied that although their base was in Osaka Prefecture, they didn't have their own ground, so they were allowed to use Koshien Stadium. Maybe because he felt sorry for them, they were given permission to build their own ground. That's lucky, isn't it? So up until now, he set his sights on Osaka City, which had nothing to do with baseball until then. It was a prime location in Minami, the second busiest downtown area in Osaka, and very close to Namba Station on the Nankai Electric Railway. The area had been reduced to ruins by the Osaka air raids, former Senba Bureau. Now it has been decided to build it on the site of the former Japan Tobacco Industry Factory. Also, at that time there was another team based in Osaka called Taiyo Robins. They had acquired land owned by the Kansai Sumo Association, which was located in the largest downtown area in the north, and had made it a candidate site for construction. However, that plan was close to the planned construction site and the neighboring city of Nishinomiya in Hyogo Prefecture, where their home base was located. The Hanshin Tigers and Hankyu Braves were worried about losing their fans, so they opposed it because of that. The two teams instructed the Nankai Hawks to build the stadium in Minami. That was the decision that was made. The Japan Baseball Federation also inspected the candidate sites and decided to build the stadium in Minami, but the owner of the Taiyo Robins made a harsh claim, saying that if the Nankai Hawks couldn't complete construction within a year, he would build the stadium himself. Because of this, the Nankai Hawks had no choice but to proceed with construction so that it could be completed within a year. On September 12, 195, after just 8 months of special construction, it was completed. By the way, everything about the stadium, from its design to everything else, is different. And since the times are completely different, please just take this as a reference. I'm telling you this, but starting from 2023, it has been used as the home stadium of the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters. Esconfield Hokkaido took 2 years and 8 months to complete. At that time, Namba was in a period of post-war reconstruction and there were only makeshift houses. A full-scale reinforced concrete structure was completed as a large-scale building in the center of Osaka City. At that time, Osaka Stadium was called the Osaka Castle of Harmony, by the way. Officially, the official name was not Osaka Kyujo but Osaka Stadium. However, since it was commonly called Osaka Kyujo in this video, I will use the name Osaka Kyujo throughout. As for the size of the field when it was first built, both wings were 84 meters and center field was 115.8 meters. By the way, the narrowest professional baseball stadium today is Yokohama Stadium with both wings at 94.2 meters and center field at 118 meters. Of course, the center field is longer, but the wings are actually 10 meters longer than before. Also, in order to earn extra income, a new initiative was introduced for the first time at a Japanese stadium to make effective use of the stadium facilities under the spectator seats. Shops, team offices, off-track betting for horse racing, billiards, table tennis, and bowling alleys. It was made into a recreational facility equipped with all these features. Nowadays, it's common to have shops and other tenants under the spectator seats, but back then, this was quite new. Osaka Stadium was a pioneer in this. To be honest, the reason there were billiard halls, table tennis, and bowling alleys was to make money even on days without games. In the first place, it's a busy downtown area with lots of people coming and going, regardless of the stadium. That's probably one of the reasons, so they tried to secure space for these entertainment facilities and fit as many seats as possible into the limited area. Because the stands were designed with these two purposes in mind, making them quite steep, it came to be known as a bowl-shaped stadium. Soon after opening, the name bowl-shaped stadium became widely known. As I mentioned earlier, the reason it came to be called this way is because the stadium was built on a very small plot of land in a prime urban location. In fact, the slope of the infield stands was as steep as 37 degrees, almost like a water slide. Since beer was being sold at the stadium, there were reports of drunk people tumbling down. There's also an episode where, because the stadium was shaped like a mortar, updrafts would occur, and it's said that paper airplanes thrown there wouldn't come down. Also, because the stadium was too small, hits that wouldn't be home runs in other stadiums would end up being home runs here, so it was also known as a pitcher's nightmare. For a while after Osaka Stadium opened, the Nankai Hawks became the main team in the Pacific League. In 1951, it became the first stadium in the Kansai region to install night lighting, making it possible to play games at night. That same year, they won their first Pacific League championship, and from there they went on to win 3 in a row. They were too strong, winning the league championship 4 times in 5 years. They were repeatedly defeated by the Giants in the Japan series, but in the 1959 Japan series, they finally achieved their long-cherished dream of becoming the best in Japan. At that time, I was active as the ace of the Nankai Hawks. In his second year, pitcher Sugiura showed an outstanding performance with 38 wins and 4 losses in the regular season. Riding that momentum, the team won the league championship for the first time in 4 years. In the Japan series, Sugiura showed his fighting spirit by winning 4 consecutive games, defeating the Giants and becoming the best in Japan. It's so unbelievable by today's standards that it's hard to understand. I feel like I'd get scolded by the older generation for saying this. In the end, the Nankai Hawks won the league championship 9 times in 17 years from 1950 to 1966, and in every other season during that period they finished in second place. With this incredible strength, they built a golden era. So that's how it was. The parent company, Nankai Electric Railway, was also riding high, and in 1972 they even expanded next door. As part of the renovation work at Nankai Namba Station, the area was expanded from 84 meters to 91.4 meters. This wasn't just about baseball. When soccer became professional, its popularity also soared. It seems that the stadium side aimed to make it compatible for both baseball and soccer, and in fact, soccer matches were held there. However, the pitch was so narrow for soccer that its edge came right up to the outfield fence. As a ground, the size was unsuitable, which was an unfortunate result. However, the main point is Nankai. The Hawks won the league championship in 1973, but that was the last time. This time, on the contrary, Nari calmly moves forward without trembling. As I mentioned earlier, Nari's decline continued, and especially during the 11 years from 1978 to 1988, they finished last 5 times, 5th 5 times, and 4th once, always at the bottom of the standings. The once strong Nankai Hawks had lost all trace of their former glory. Along with Nari's decline, the number of spectators also decreased. Even though the stadium was located right in the heart of Osaka's second largest entertainment district, with many people outside and an off-track betting facility under the stands that could attract crowds, the number of spectators still declined. It was often said that only the stands of Osaka Stadium were deserted, to the point where people joked it was a miserable situation. The decline in the number of spectators was not only due to the team's poor performance. Because the team was so popular during its golden era, the management got carried away. In 1959, right in the middle of their golden era, the Nankai Hawks signed an exclusive television broadcast contract with Mainichi Broadcasting, an Osaka television station, for games held at Osaka Stadium. And, coincidentally, that same year, Nankai became the champions of Japan. Because of this championship, the following year, in 1960, the Nankai side raised the broadcasting rights fee, so Mainichi Broadcasting reduced the scope of the contract, and then the year after that, in 1961, the situation continued. They gave up negotiations with the team, which was running a business, and as a result, the Nankai Hawks had less exposure on television. This led to that result. As a result, from the mid-1960s onward, professional baseball broadcasts on television were mainly from Tokyo. The influence of the television stations increased, and unlike the Pacific League's Nankai, most of the broadcasts became Central League Giants games. In the Kansai region, the only Central League team, Hanshin, became the rival to the Giants. The popularity became concentrated, and as even Nankai, who got carried away, was included, this resulted in the Pacific League's popularity remaining low for many years. Also, for those who used Osaka Stadium, it was a high-class location, but running it was a challenge. For Nankai Electric Railway, it wasn't necessarily a favorable condition. Normally, when a railway company manages a baseball team, it's common to build a home stadium in the suburbs, like the Seibu Lions Belluna Dome or the Hanshin Tigers Hanshin Koshien Stadium, so that people use their trains and it leads to increased fare revenue. Osaka Stadium was located in a prime urban area, the second busiest downtown in Osaka. Besides Nankai Electric Railway, there were also Osaka Metro and Kintetsu. People could visit using those lines as well, so fare revenue was expected. However, that situation did not materialize. Because of that situation, not only was relocating the home base discussed at Nankai Electric Railway headquarters, but even selling the team became a topic of conversation. After that, around 1986, the redevelopment of the Namba area began, along with the start of construction for Kansai International Airport. According to the plan, it was decided that Osaka Stadium would be demolished within a few years. In 1987, stakeholders in this area, including Nankai Electric Railway, were involved. 5 companies launched a research committee for the redevelopment project. The sale of the baseball team and the redevelopment of Osaka Stadium progressed rapidly. First, in the following year, 1988, the Nankai Hawks were sold to Daiei. Moreover, at the same time, they relocated their home base to Fukuoka. At Osaka Stadium, baseball games were still held in 1989 and 1990 after the team relocated, but after that, no more baseball games were played there. In the next section, we'll discuss the redevelopment plan for the former Osaka Stadium site and the seemingly puzzling use of the stadium's field area, where a housing exhibition venue was opened. I'll explain the reason why it was used that way. To tell you in advance, opening a housing exhibition venue on the stadium's field was a desperate measure. It's not that they wanted to do it that way. In March 1989, a model of the redevelopment plan for the area around Nankai Namba Station, including the site of the former Osaka Stadium, was unveiled. It was widely covered on television and in newspapers. The plan was so large-scale that even if it were announced today, it would be the talk of television and the media. Although it was still undecided whether it could be realized, the total project cost was estimated at 25 to 30 billion yen, with the overall completion targeted for 1995. On the far right of the photo is the high-rise Namba South Tower Hotel. To the south of that, there are about 3 ultra-high-rise buildings, each around 100 meters tall. And the most impressive part was that there were plans to build 3 60-story buildings, each 250 meters tall, and to the south of those, 2 more ultra-high-rise buildings, each around 100 meters tall. In fact, some parts of the plan were actually completed. The one that opened the earliest was in 1999, and it's the one on the far right in the photo, as I explained. Only the Nankai South Tower Hotel, this Nankai South Tower, the hotel is still the Swiss hotel today. It still exists as Nankai Osaka. All other plans were frozen. The reason for that, as you might expect, was the burst of the bubble economy. Due to the burst of the bubble economy, Osaka Stadium was also demolished. It was left without being demolished, and the area that used to be the field was paved over and used for various purposes. That's what happened. It started being used as a parking lot, then it was utilized for entertainment purposes. Jikidan Shiki also performed the musical Cats there. Movies were also shown in a special tent, and the highlight was the opening of a nightclub inside the stadium. Osaka Stadium Housing Expo. A housing exhibition opened inside the stadium. It was so surreal that even foreign media covered it. If I had been old enough to understand things at that time, I definitely would have wanted to go. It hadn't been demolished for a long time. It was Osaka Stadium. But redevelopment resumed at the beginning of 1997, and finally, in 1998, the demolition of Osaka Stadium began. A commercial facility called Namba Parks will open on the site. Namba Parks opened in 2003 on the site of the former Osaka Stadium. It's a large commercial facility, and in Osaka City, most shopping areas are centered around underground malls and arcades, so there aren't many like this. Because there weren't any large shopping malls like this before, it had a big impact on Osaka's urban development afterward. You could call it a commercial facility. The building was designed by the same people who worked on Canal City Hakata and Roppongi Hills. It was designed by the American architect John Jerde with the theme of coexistence with greenery. Although it's a commercial facility, there's a park called Parks Garden on the 3rd floor and above, so you can enjoy nature even in the city center. I'll tell you more about it later. I went up through this Parks Garden to the top to take pictures of the remnants of Osaka Stadium, and it was amazing. It might sound like I'm talking about it as if I visited for the first time, but I've been here many times and I really love this place. In fact, I even worked part-time at a store in Namba Parks when I was in college. By the way, there are 3 high-rise buildings adjacent to Namba Parks. One of them is called Parks Tower. It's a 30-story office building. The second one is a tower apartment, and the other is Namba Parks South, a complex building that opened in July 2023, which houses a hotel, offices, and restaurants. The tower apartment was also originally planned to be built as an office building, but due to a decline in demand for offices, it was changed to a residential building. Also, Namba Parks South and the Yamada Denki store right in front of it. Originally, the construction of a hotel and commercial facilities was planned. With the opening of Namba Parks South, a hotel was finally built after 30 years. Now let's look at the remnants of Osaka Stadium left near Namba Parks. Let me introduce them to you. First, what I want to introduce is Gongli-tet. On the 2nd floor plaza, there is a commemorative monument and plate marking the spots where the pitcher's plate and home plate of Osaka Stadium used to be. If you look closely, you'll see the years when Osaka Stadium existed and the Nankai Hawks logo engraved on them. And since other remnants exist on the upper floors, let's go up to the 8th floor inside Parks Garden. As I mentioned earlier, it's so rich in nature that it makes you forget you're in the city. Climbing up the stairs is pretty exhausting. I made it here after giving it my all. Next, I'd like to introduce the outdoor event space located on the 8th floor. The seating area of the NK Theater is actually shaped like the outfield seats of the Osaka Stadium. It has been designed just like that. Sorry, it happened to be during the illumination season, so you can't really tell, but this is what it usually looks like. I'll show you a photo. This is a bit of a random topic, but I'm really bad with winter. Of course, I'll have to film in winter for my videos, but I'm really worried about it. If you see me collapse somewhere, please help me. And furthermore, on the 9th floor up the stairs, there's Nankai. There's also an exhibition corner called the Hawks Memorial Gallery, which introduces the history of the Nankai Hawks. Championship trophies, uniforms, bats, and other items from that time were on display. In the central area, there were panels and video corners introducing the players who were active at the time. When I pressed number 3, it was the Osaka Stadium history, so I watched everything. It was really interesting. If you're interested, please check it out. Actually, the person who contributed the most to the Nankai Hawks is Nomu-san, also known as Mr. Nomura. The related exhibits are open due to portrait rights issues. At that time, there was no mention of his name or anything, but now a description of Nomu-san will be added to the memorial gallery. The renovation project was carried out and it was renewed on February 14th, 2021. And next is the wins number. It's a horse racing off-track betting facility. Originally, it was a tenant in Osaka Stadium, but later moved to Namba Parks. Lastly, let me introduce the one located on the south side of Namba Parks. The housing exhibition site called Namba Jutaku-haku is a remnant of the housing exhibition that used to be inside the grounds before Osaka Stadium was demolished. It's pretty rare to have a housing exhibition site in a prime urban area where most people live in apartments. It's an unusual and interesting site. Since I filmed on a weekday, it was pretty quiet, but there were all kinds of things. Since companies have their exhibits here, I think it's probably bustling on weekends. There are probably others as well. I think there are still some remnants of Osaka Stadium, but that's all I'll introduce in this video. Although there are still some remnants of Osaka Stadium, the area in front of Namba Parks used to be the stadium. I wonder how many people actually know that. I myself used to visit Namba Parks without thinking about it at all until I covered it in this video. There was a time when I worked part-time there. Even though I was in that position, I always hoped that Namba Parks would continue to thrive while preserving the remnants of Osaka Stadium. And that's about it. That's all for this video. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.